This is Bloomberg UTV.
Hello and welcome to this special. Exactly a year ago, all of us were shell-shocked by the terror attack that ripped through the commercial capital of the country and India itself. A year later, one still shudders to think of what happened within the walls of the Taj and Oberoi as people were taken hostage and gun battles raged on for days. The days after 26/11 saw an outpouring like never before. But 1 year down the line, the fact is that there are far too many questions that remain and a lot more needs to be done. Over the next half hour, we raise some basic questions. Are we safer today? Has enough been done? And have we really come together as active citizens of this country? The answers are mixed. To start with, the only terrorist arrested alive after the 26/11 attack is still alive. And what's more, we haven't made any headway with Pakistan on the extradition of the masterminds behind the attacks. Ronak Kotecha has this report.
An image etched in memory. Even a year after 26/11, the worst terror attack India has seen, it seems justice is a long way off. The trial of Ajmal Kasab, the lone surviving terrorist, the brain behind the carnage at the central CST station in Mumbai, is still on. And the latest developments in the case mean there will be even more delays. What's more, despite crying hoarse and loud for a year, Pakistan has still not extradited a single person responsible for masterminding these attacks. For Assistant Police Inspector Hemant Bhavdankar, the man who actually captured Kasab on the fateful night a year ago, it's a time for introspection. He risked his life using a basic service revolver he still carries, but as a good cop, he is resigned to the fact that the long hand of law will take its time to actually reach Kasab.
Because it is a process of law and it will take time.
But time and again, the men in uniform have had to wait long to see justice done. Here is a status check of what actually has happened after some of the worst attacks in India. 13 serial blasts rocked Mumbai on March 12, 1993. 250 people lost their lives and 700 were wounded. Many were arrested and detained, but it was only in 2006 that 100 of the 129 accused were found to be guilty and were convicted by the special designated Tada court. However, many of the 100 are still missing, including the main conspirators and masterminds of the attacks, Tiger Memon and Dawood Ibrahim. On December 13, 2001, 5 terrorists from the Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed attacked the Parliament of India in New Delhi, killing 6 policemen and 1 civilian. The trial began in December 2002. While 4 Jaish-e-Mohammed members were convicted and sentenced to lesser terms, the mastermind of the attack, Afzal Guru, is yet to be executed even after the ruling from country's apex court back in 2004. On July 11, 2006, 7 bombs ripped through Mumbai's local trains, killing over 200 and injuring 700 people. Trial began more than a year later in December 2007, but is still in its nascent stage. One of the accused has now challenged the use of Maharashtra Control of Organised Crime Act or MCOCA in the Supreme Court. It's stark and shocking fact, but even though constitutional experts hold up the word of law and underline the sanctity of the criminal trial process, the fact is that it can take a lifetime before justice is delivered. Former IPS officer turned lawyer and activist YP Singh voices the frustration within the system. He says the problem is that we really don't have a law strict enough to deal with terror, especially in its new high-tech form.
I think the legal system with respect to terror in India is inconsistent with logic. Every country has got special laws when it comes to terror. That is the reason why we had initially Tada that lapsed. Thereafter we had POTA and POTA also lapsed. It is absolutely incomprehensible to logic that when a law has been made for a specific reason, why that law should lapse at all.
The fact is that anti-terror law seems to have been caught in a vortex of politics. From the Terrorist and Disruptive Activities Prevention Act or TADA to the Prevention of Terrorism Act or POTA, each one of these stringent laws were trashed for the excesses they perpetrated, and instead of nipping the problem of corruption, the laws themselves were done away with at the altar of politics. Ajmal Kasab is being tried under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act or UAPA, which was introduced way back in 1969. No wonder then that old security hands are frustrated with what they see.
Very slowly the value system has changed, and today I think more or less they have given up and given into the hands of the political class.
While India has been grappling with what to do with terror in its newfangled form, the US and the UK, also victims of high-tech and devastating attacks, have managed to put in place stringent anti-terror laws. In the US, the Patriot Act, signed within a month of 9/11, gives the state sweeping powers to monitor citizens to counter terrorism. Also, law enforcement agencies have a free hand in detaining suspects without charge. In the UK too, the government made anti-terror laws even more stringent after the July 7 bombings, allowing the police to question and detain people on suspicion. While these laws have been called draconian, the fact is they do represent the swiftness with which the political establishment came together to deal with a crisis and looming threat. In India, meanwhile, the wait continues. All those who thought that 26/11 will be a turning point in the way India deals with terror came in for a big disappointment. Not only is Kasab's trial far from over, all the diplomatic pressure put by India on Pakistan so far has been a futile exercise. India continues to remain vulnerable to terror attacks, and a stringent law to deal with such attacks is still a distant dream. Ronak Kotecha, Bloomberg, UTV, Mumbai.
Well, justice delayed without any reason. Up next, what has happened to the many recommendations made by the experts after the attacks and how much has actually been done on the ground. Welcome back. You're watching In Focus, and In Focus 1 year after 26/11 is what has been done on the ground. The well-calibrated high-tech attacks on 26th November last year on the nerve centers of India's commercial capital proved that we were just not equipped to deal with what happened. Our police force was understaffed and underarmed, our public spaces were clearly unsafe, and nobody had a clue of what needed to be done. A year later, little seems to have actually changed on the ground, as Devina Gupta finds out.
Checkpoints, metal detectors, sniffer dogs and private guards outside top hotels in Mumbai. If there is one change that is visible after the commercial capital's brush with terror a year back, it is this. But sadly, move a little further off the shadows of these big hotels and little has changed.
Why would anyone feel safe? Particularly in Mumbai, why would anyone feel safe? I think I would feel very unsafe. Before 26/11, maybe we didn't think about it all that much in spite of all that had happened earlier. But after 26/11, and then all the reports that come on a daily basis of terrorist activity, of the city being a target and so on, why would anyone feel safe? We should all be bloody nervous.
Nervous not only because intelligence reports indicate that terrorists are planning more attacks on India's nerve centers, but also nervous because so little has been done after the last one. 26/11 had created a national furore, and for days and months after, urban India had come together with a call for action. Heads rolled and a massive committee was formed to deal with the issue of securing the city and its citizens. A year later, those accused of doing little are back in office, and the committee has barely met.
There is not only a Pradhan committee, but there was also a committee, Maharashtra Security Council, that was set up, and there were 5 committees within that. I am, leading one of those committees, and this was the government's proposal and government's initiative. And we have met 2 or 3 times. We have made our reports and we've given the recommendations, and I'm sure the new government will take it on.
Here's a look, meanwhile, at what has been done on the ground after 26/11 and the 2 high-profile committees set to go into it. First, there is no clear document on the recommendations made. While the 66-member Jumbo Committee has barely met, It has set up subgroups to deal with issues like security protocols, cybersecurity and much more. The Ram Pradhan Committee report, scathing on Mumbai police and political establishment, seems to have been buried. And while the centre is doling out an additional 102 crore rupees for upgradation of security forces, there is no account of why only 98 crore rupees has been spent out of 120 crore rupees sanctioned earlier. In fact, an on-the-ground check underlines how little has been done. 2611 proved that the police were undertrained, carried out dated weaponry and barely had enough ammunition for firing practice. Far from addressing all these issues, no fresh recruitments have been done into the police. Just 1,500 of the 40,000 strong Mumbai police have been trained as part of the quick response team. Just 39 combat vehicles have been topped with GPS facilities. And while modern rifles and around 350 bulletproof jackets have been ordered for a 40,000 strong force, and they are still to be actively used. After all the furore around how the NSG commandos had to be flown in from Haryana to deal with the crisis in Mumbai last year, 4 new NSG hubs have been created, and one of these is in Mumbai. But there too land hasn't been developed as yet, and the NSG team is cooling its heels. 2611 also proved just how porous our waterways were and how easy it was to enter our territory loaded with explosives. Over the last year, apparently 50 crores have been spent upgrading coastal patrolling. 4 amphibious boats and over 50 GPS monitored boats have been acquired. But the ID cards registration process for fishermen is still not complete. The progress has been slow, and experts say basic issues need to be addressed. When we asked the city's police commissioner what he thought of this missive, he had a more philosophical take.
All of them are ready, but training has been given to them the extent possible in the time frame, and this training would be continuing on a continuous basis for the next 100 years. I can't say my training is over, my men are all capable, now they are going to develop ponchos by sitting quiet on the field. So this training is going to be there. Upgradation of technology will be on a continuous basis. We are going to buy new weapons, new technology, new software and all that. It's going to be a continuous exercise.
While one can argue about how much or how fast is enough, angry citizens are frustrated at this slow pace of change.
My point is, if the new Home Minister or the Maharashtra government, previous or this one, can show us, number one, what security arrangements are there. We don't see any patrol boats patrolling the shores of Bombay. We don't see any policemen, senior policemen with AK-47s. The National Security Guard, NSG, which was the commando supposed to be now stationed in Bombay, we don't see them. Our humble request to Mr. R.R. Patil, the revised Home Minister, please see that we see these things. Don't tell us in the newspapers or on TV. Bhashan band, calm, action shuru.
It is a sad fact that 1 year after the worst terror attack on Indian soil, the country's commercial capital is as vulnerable as ever. And that's only because so little of what could have been done has been done. And what's more, the fear is that if this couldn't shake the administration into action, what else will?
Earlier, I caught up with former Mumbai Commissioner M.N. Singh and began by asking him whether he felt more could have been done on the ground.
I won't say that nothing has been done. Something has been done, like in the matter of strengthening the police infrastructure, giving them more weapons and giving them protective equipments, etc. Something has been done, and at least the most important thing that has been done, which I feel, is that there is a change, perceptible change in the attitude of the government, and you find suitable, appropriate noises being made from the government, from the Mantralaya and the Government of India. But I won't say that this is all that was needed. A lot more needs to be done. So the process has been slow. I will feel that a lot more needs to be done, even in the field of improving the police infrastructure, giving them better training, and more importantly, the change in the police attitude itself, orientation in the police attitude. Police over the last 60 years since independence was unfortunately so badly used or misused that it would take a lot of time to sort of improve the police attitude also.
But tell me something, sir. When I spoke to you just after 26/11, you were very, very angry and agitated, and you said, what's stopping these terrorists to come into buildings and take people hostage now? Is that threat as large as it was? Have we protected ourselves adequately?
Yes. The city, particularly the city of Mumbai, continues to be vulnerable. And I won't say that such attacks will not take place in future, even though the police seem to be gearing up and preparing itself, and today they are better prepared than what they were a year ago. But despite that, you remember, they have to succeed only once and the damage is done. You have to be successful all the times, but there is no such surety that police will succeed all the times.
You've been a top cop in this city, Mr. Singh. What would be the 3-4 things that you would say that has to be done like yesterday to ensure that we are safe?
Problem of terrorism of today has two aspects. The internal aspect, we are preparing ourselves, preparing our police forces. We have created the NSG hub in Mumbai and in some other parts of the country. We have raised some commando units in the police, Mumbai police and the state police. We are arming them and all that kind of a thing. That's being done. But I think equally important is that our police leadership must become strong. You must have the right person in the right place. The government should try and deal with this problem of the politics of the police and value professionalism and competence more than anything else. On the external side, you have to deal with this source of the problem, the area from where the problem is originating. Unless that is dealt with, it's like white ants attacking some part of your house. Unless the whole source is attacked and cleaned up, you see, you will continue to have this recurring problem of white ants eating into your various parts of your. So you have to deal with that.
Well, that was M.N. Singh speaking to me earlier. Well, even as more needs to be done from a policy standpoint, the fact is that 26/11 and its aftermath has also meant introspection as far as individuals are concerned. And that could well be the biggest impact of the event on the collective psyche of the city and the country. We come back with more after this break.